Hi, I am Karen Melchenbray. I'm the Chief Editor of Computer Graphics World magazine here at Siggraph 2013 in Anaheim, California. It's our second day of the show. It's definitely been bustling around here, and with me right now is Rob Bredow, and you are CTO of Sony Pictures Imageworks. And in case you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. You got it right.
And tell us a little bit about your job. What else it entail?
Yes, I'm in charge for the technology, actually, for our division there at Imageworks and animation. And we actually do some of the work in post-production as well now. So that's basically all the technology for most of the digital parts of Sony Pictures. So that's visual effects, animation, and then all the other things we do. So it's a big job. We have a lot going on. We get to do a lot of interesting technology. So it's been a great role to have.
What are some of the more recent technologies that you've been working on?
Most people are now familiar with Katana. That's one of the things we've developed over the last, almost 10 years at Sony Imageworks.
Yes.
So that was originally a lighting tool developed in production, and now the Foundry is actually selling it commercially. And they actually, at this show, they're announcing wider availability, and I think they had some pretty exciting announcements about what they're doing with Pixar's RenderMan and a bundling deal and other things like that. So it's starting to get to a point where when we first created the software, it was designed for a large studio, a really big studio that had an investment and a big pipeline that was kind of centered around it. And now it's starting to get to the point where the medium-sized studios are very enthusiastic about it. So we're excited about seeing other people start to leverage some of our technology like that.
So what's the thought process about taking this technology you've developed for a while and making it available widespread?
When we decided to do the deal with the Foundry around Katana, which involved sharing all of our technology, the primary motivating factor was we saw that it was a very mature lighting tool. We had a great response from our artists, and it had started to stabilize. It wasn't changing as much as normally internal tools do. And when that happens on an internal project, the kind of engineers that made it great and did all that innovation to get it off the ground, they get a little bored if something interesting isn't happening, right? And we wanted to make sure we had a strong future for this lighting tool because it was actually really strong and really solid. So when we met with the Foundry, we found out that their goals for where they wanted to take the production pipeline and the way they saw the integration of 3D lighting and 2D compositing, and they saw that coming together in the same way we did. We went, oh, this might be a great group to partner with to streamline, to make sure this thing has a long future, and then of course take it out to the industry where it can have a long life just outside of our walls and our hundreds of lighters.
Oh, great! And I assume you will continue to use it within Sony Imageworks.
Yeah, we're major Katana users. We still have Katana developers on site working on new things every single day.
Oh, great!
So our engineers are now, instead of having to work just on the basics and getting it working on different platforms and other things like that, our engineers are now working on the real core value things. They're working they're working on a new library to speed up the core cooking engine. And we have a whole bunch of other plans for other things that we want to see as improvements to Katana that we can add on now that we don't have to worry about some of the basics that the Foundry has taken over.
Oh, wonderful. And there's another technology too, Clicks.
Yes.
And their Foundry they have a hand in that as well right now, right?
Exactly. So Flix was another technology developed at Sony Imageworks, primarily used on our animated feature films, and it's storyboarding software. It's software, and it's more than just storyboarding, but it's software that provides a collaboration platform for the storytelling process. So when you're working in storyboarding, when you're working with previs, and you're trying to get all of those elements together in the cut, working with editorial, doing that round trip that you have to do hundreds of times while you're creating your story, Flix is the collaboration platform for that. It's the one place you can go and always see the latest version of the cut. You can click on any storyboard and just start painting on it in Photoshop, and when you save, it goes right back into the tool instead of having to have an army of coordinators managing where these files are going, or worse, managing individual pieces of paper that have been taped up on a board. So it's a process to streamline our story process. So we did a deal with the Foundry where they're able to sell that commercially now, and they've announced that they have their first customers already using the package.
Nice.
And they've just announced it, I think, in the last couple of weeks. I know here at the show was the big announcement that it's available for sale, that you can get Flix, put it in your studio, do a story with Flix anytime you're interested. So yeah, it's exciting to see our tools go from being used by a handful of people to potentially being used by thousands.
Wow, that's fabulous. And also, what's new on the Alembic front?
Yeah, Alembic is pretty exciting this year. We're announcing Alembic 1.5. Alembic 1.5 is way faster and even smaller files. So that's been our continued goal with Alembic, is to make it really fast and really compact. And 1.5 is another step along that promise. The way we did this, Alembic used to be based on an old library called HDF5. It's a very good library. It's a good open source library, but it wasn't really fast enough and it wasn't well behaved enough in a multi-threaded environment to really keep up with the demands that our industry puts on something like a graphics interchange format. So we wrote a new background, a replacement backend called Ogawa, and it is in some cases up to 40 times faster, depending on the application. But everybody will see like 4 to 5 times speed increase on every application, and in some cases you see up to 40 times. So it's really a dramatic improvement in speed, and the files are yet again a little smaller as well.
Okay, and I know recently I've heard you talk a little bit about some challenges of the global pipeline. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, you know, we're very fortunate at Sony to have a lot of experience dealing with remote workflows. So we're very fortunate to have had 5, 6, 7 years to kind of be ready for this. Be ready for a distributed workflow where our artists are in Vancouver, they're in LA, they're in India, and we can leverage any of those artists on any of our projects at any time. We often get customers or our clients coming to us saying, so do we have to choose between Vancouver or LA, or how do you determine what part of our project happens in what location? And the great thing is we don't actually have to choose. We can have a lighter working on a shot 1 minute in Vancouver and the next minute somebody could be touching up the animation in LA, or vice versa. Wherever the talent is, wherever we have the artists available to work on the show, wherever the right person is for the job, we can just leverage them to work on any show at any time. And that's because of our pipeline that has been developed, where the synchronization of the assets is completely transparent to the artists and instantaneous in most cases, so everything is kept up to date in all our locations at all times, which is something that has taken a little while to get right. It's a big project to get the development correct, but now that we have it in place, we're really fortunate to be able to offer our clients the flexibility of where do you want to do the work, we can accommodate it.
And are there any recent examples of some films that you want to point out that really leverage this?
Sure. Yeah, we're working on a couple of big movies right now. We just wrapped up Smurfs 2, which will be in theaters soon. And then Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, which is going to be in theaters in the fall, and a really fun movie, and also one of our first big animated films to really leverage both of our main locations where the most artists are, both in LA and Vancouver, very heavily. Our animated film started doing that in Hotel Transylvania. We had a lot of great animators on there, and on Smurfs.
That was a really cute film.
Really fun movie. And Cloudy is leveraging our distributed workforce, our artists in all these locations, even more. So that's really good. And of course, all of our upcoming films are doing that as well, whether that's Amazing Spider-Man 2, the movie that just changed its name to Edge of Tomorrow. It used to be called All You Need Is Kill. It's a Tom Cruise sci-fi movie out next year. We're doing a huge amount of visual effects for that movie as well, and that is heavily based in all of our locations.
Oh, great. And are there any other technical advancements that you've been sort of working on there at Sony and that you want to tell us a little bit about?
Sure. Yeah, another area we're really making a big investment right now is in our collaborative review tool. Okay. We've always had a great collaborative review tool that we use to review the work, whether you're in one location or another. And what we're doing right now is just making that a lot more streamlined, a lot easier for our artists to use, and getting it working on more platforms at the same time. So we've always had it on Linux, we've always had it where our artists are doing the work, but it's really convenient to be able to open up your MacBook while you're on set in some remote location and have a synchronized collaborative review. Maybe the director's looking over your shoulder, maybe the director's operating and annotating a shot right with you. So we're making those tools available to more of our artists right now, which is really a nice thing to do from a technology perspective, enabling artists to get that feedback when they need it, because that review process, especially with the schedules we're dealing with and the kind of complexity of the shows that tend to come to Sony Imageworks, being able to get that feedback to the artist as quickly as possible, round trip from the director straight to the artist desks, that's something that we really want to put a high priority on.
Okay, any others that you want to point out?
You know, I think the other things are mostly what we've talked about, the stuff we're doing with Alembic. We have a new, really great adoption this year, actually, with open shading language. So that's our shading language that we use in our version of Arnold, and we're seeing that now used in other commercial packages. So V-Ray is announcing their support of open shading language this year. So, and we have a lot of it. Blender has supported it now for quite a while, and we're starting to see. I think we're hitting a tipping point where people are looking at this language and seeing how it fits in this niche, which is a new modern shading language that is completely open and you can customize it and put it into your system. People are starting to see that this ecosystem is developing, and it may start to really take off, which would be exactly what we were hoping for when we built the system.
Okay, and anything we can sort of expect in the future here from Sony Imageworks in terms of technology?
I'd say definitely keep watching our open source projects. We're putting a lot of investment into those. We have 7 projects. Not everybody knows about all 7 of them, and I won't go into all of them now. But if you want to know more, we do have a website dedicated to it. So it's opensource.imageworks.com. Real easy to find. We keep updates up there all the time. And it's a great way not only for us to contribute back to the community, but also for people who are looking for work, if they are interested.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of them out there.
It's a great way to get involved in our projects and start contributing and start interacting with some of the developers at Sony without even necessarily having to go through submitting your resume. You know, when we're looking for a new developer, the first place we go is our open source mailing list. And we actually are hiring. We have a couple positions open now in Vancouver, so if somebody's looking to get in at Sony, it's a great opportunity.
Oh, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people.
We'll take some applications. That'll be fantastic.
Great. And anything else that you want to add?
Oh, I think you did a great job. I think you covered it. It's great.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.